Afro Comic Con 2021. Rewrite the future with us.
Hello, guys. It's your girl, Draxx, your Funko fanatic, and one of your more taller friends. And I'm here with Afro Comic Con, helping them assist with the panel from card games to video games. Game developers are answering questions on what to do and where to begin. Before this panel fully gets started, I want to give a special shout out and big thanks to Afro Comic Con for bringing this amazing, and I mean amazing, panel together to share their knowledge of what it's like from turning, card games to video games. Tonight, I will be with the wonderful Jason Richardson and Jonathan Price. I'm going to give you a little bit about our audience, our panelists rather, so you can get to know them a bit better. Jason Richardson is a comic book writer and artist, a radio and web show personality, a music festival, and a convention founder. He is also a multi-award winning game developer. As an entry in the Encyclopedia of Black Comics, a book by Dr. Sheena Howard that showcases influential Black folks in the comic book industry, and he has his most recent endeavor, VT Heroes, in his deck building fighting card game, which he created. And it has been super successful Kickstarter that was funded by a mind-blowing funder in 30 minutes. And it has been rewarded with 5 awards and accolades since its launch. Accompanying him would be Jonathan Price. Jonathan Price is a freelance illustrator, character designer, game developer, specializing in original comics, illustrations, games featuring strong women of color. He works passionately to produce various media featuring his unique brand of original character designs, brought to you with vivid coloring and effects. How are you gentlemen doing today?
I'm doing well. Tired as always, but well.
Hey, that's the adulting life. That is the adulting life. So I do have a couple questions for you guys, starting with primarily which platforms did you target with the game developing?
Okay. Well, this game, VT, I guess my most recent game, VT Heroes, that is a deck building fighting card game. So it's in the tabletop, card playing genre. If you're fans of like Power Rangers, all that, like Street Fighter, and if you like stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and all that stuff, you'll have fun with this.
Look, you
But,
had me at Magic. I may have to get my deck. I may have to get my deck.
there you go. There you go.
Oh, Jonathan, you're muted, honey. I've been saying, you're muted. You probably just need a minute. um, well, while we wait, oh,
There you.
there we go. You got this. Shake them jitters out, Jonathan. You got this.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I wasn't prepared.
It's okay.
Yeah. You said target platforms.
Yes.
Well, listen, my game is still a work in progress, and it's meant to kind of invoke the spirit of 16-bit classic gaming from the 90s and early 2000s. The one I'm working on now is called Jet Dancer. It's based on a character of my own design. I wish I wait a minute. Is there a way to share screens?
We might be able to. They're gonna see behind the scenes if they can do that. But let me hype this man up because he don't understand how awesome he is. I've been following this
Please.
man since the DeviantArt days. Like
Oh,
this man's art has been like, I followed him like all the time. I used to look at all his designs he would post up, even when he was first saying that he was gonna jump into doing games. I was like, bet I want to see that. And then he started, I started watching him develop the game, like piece by piece. And I've been trying to like get into that, like the way he's doing it.
This looks amazing. You took me back when you said DeviantArt. I ain't heard that in a
Right.
minute. Lord.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still there.
I tried to pop in there and I forgot my password at one point.
I don't even remember my login. You both are better than me right now. I tell you that. Okay.
So yeah, this is the itch.io page for my game that I made. Actually, this is kind of old compared to where I'm at in the game now, but this is the easiest place to like see it and find it. It can be played. A demo of it can be played on this site. It's basically a 2D platformer featuring this character I designed, who's basically meant to bring back the the bad girl era of comics in the 90s.
Yes.
Like yeah, she's a little sexy, she's a little strong, she's a little flashy, but
we're here for it. We are most definitely here for that.
I told you his art was dope. Like, you see that man's work?
Yes. We love the representation.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have much else to show on this website. I would have to dig it up. I wasn't ready, but
look, it is perfectly fine. It is perfectly fine.
And the game is basically for anybody who likes intense action games that have a little bit of difficulty, a little bit of player skill, a high skill ceiling. It's not a particularly complex game. You just go through, you beat enemies, and make it to the next level. It's still in development, and I'm hoping to have it finished by next year. But for the time being, it's just still a work in progress. But I think it's coming along nice, and my few testers have said it feels great, looks great. So it's for anybody who likes action games. It's not M-rated. It's not for babies. It's for anybody who can pick up a controller, really.
Making it accessible for everyone, that's a wonderful thing. Because most of the games nowadays in that genre are like M-rated 17 for mature, just things like that.
And I like the look of it though, like because it brings back that old school. I miss those days of like platformers, like they have them now.
N64, it's giving me that vibe. It's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I can't seem to get past that era. I still play video games, but
it's a classic. It's a classic, so I don't blame you.
They don't do it for me, 2D for life, 2D forever.
Yo, I love give me a 2D beat 'em up. Give me a 2D platformer. I like what they're doing a lot in the indie scene, on like PlayStation and on Xbox, and even on Steam, where you see a lot of 2D art, and even major studios are going back to 2D art. I mean, Streets of Rage 4. Come on now. Streets of Rage 4 is hand drawn.
Absolutely. Man.
I'm for it.
Hey, that's where I run to when I go to anime conventions and I need a game to play in the arcade. That's exactly what I run to because it's just a more comfortable feeling, just all the nostalgia. Also, speaking of things like that, Jay Rich, how many copies have you sold so far with your VT Heroes?
So far, I know there's at least around 300 people that have a copy of the game. Which is awesome because it's hard trying to sell when you can't do a lot of appearances because pandemics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I've had the opportunity. I like selling more. Like it sells online, but I like selling in person because one of the things that comes with it is people playing the game. And it's
nothing like experiencing, like seeing it live in action. I get it.
Yeah, because I want people to feel it, and one of the things I like showing off to people is whenever like we're in person. Because I've been doing like again small appearances here and there. The first thing I say is like, I bet you in your first playthrough you're gonna learn how to play the game. And they're like, no, man, because Yu-Gi-Oh's complicated. All these different other games like Pokemon and Magic is overly complicated. I'm like, I guarantee you're going to learn how to play this within the first 5 minutes. And if you know anything about fighting games, you don't have to be a master. If you understand how fighting games work, you're going to get this game. And they're like, all right, let's try it. No lie.
Look, and I can tell you how long it took me to get like D&D and Magic. Like struggling, and I'm still struggling.
So. Right. This, like, I'm trying to treat it like the way people do a lot of esports because we have like YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for J1 Studios where you can watch matches of VT Heroes between like the different YouTubers and Twitch streamers. They come over to the studio and we have set up cameras and lights and we record them like battling each other. Then we actually have commentators who will go over it just like when you watch like matches, like tournaments online. You're like, oh, he did this combo. Oh, he did this. So, and there's music and there's all the, it's a whole spectacle. I like making a whole spectacle.
Absolutely.
I gotta get my copy.
Same here.
And when John drops his, man, I've been listen. Like I said, I've been following this man.
It looks amazing. Like
I've been following this man for over a decade. I've been watching him work on all kinds of stuff, from comics, posters, all this stuff. So when this game dropped, it's getting bought, son. Like that's how it's gonna happen. You ain't got
honestly.
I believe it. I got faith. I just had so much trouble focusing because it's like my main project, but working on a game doesn't bring pay the bills. So you have to do other things on the side, freelancing here and there. And the project, your passion project, sometimes gets put on hold. I've been working on for 7 years now, which is like 6 years too long, maybe, given how simple it should be. But it's coming. I'm coming close. I'm making real progress now for the first time in years, and I'm feeling like within a year or less, I'm gonna have something that people can download and buy and play.
Everyone works at a different pace. Don't prolong it. Don't stress so much on how long you've been working on it. You got this. Seriously.
Yeah. Never worry about a time frame because time frames can sometimes ruin the game. Perfect example. Cyberpunk 2077.
We're not even going to talk about how
people were like, hey, we want it now. We want it now. And they're like, well, it's not really perfected yet. And they're like, we don't care. Now everybody's like, boo, it's broken.
And it had to go on sale. That's
right.
And
buy that thing for $10 now.
Yeah, right. And it's like, you never, especially when you're a one-man operation. I am also a one-man operation with this game series. And I'm developing actually a second and third game. One for another company I can't really talk about, but I'm working on another game, and this is only series 1 of VT Heroes. So we have 4 to 8 years worth of VT Heroes to enjoy.
Oh,
including manga that goes with VT Heroes. So and there's possibly a live action web series that's gonna go with VT Heroes. So
part of the plan.
Yeah, yo, pace yourself. You know what I mean? Never anyone who's into game development, never try and rush something out. Unless get something out there that people can look at, like a demo of some sort. Like this was a completed game, but I was injured at the time.
Right.
So I had to draw it in a different style, very simple style, because I had a really bad accident. So now I'm trying to do the remastered version now that my hand works again. So I'm going to redraw it. But, oh man, is it taking up time.
You can't rush perfection. Take your time with your craft. You want your best work to be put out there. So again, don't stress yourself. Don't put so much time to meet a deadline.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
If you love it, you'll take care of it. You're not gonna rush it to grow. Let it grow.
Because no one is gonna nurture your project like how you're gonna nurture it. No one's gonna care about it as much as you're going to care about it.
That is facts.
Seriously. Speaking of caring about things, we gotta talk about builds. You're talking about builds. How much for your projects are you guys looking at? You had to guess the mate. How much did it cost to make your games, and even developing? You had to estimate the amount of funding that you both put into your crafts.
What's funny for me is it's hard to say that because everything I do is based on how I draw and what I've already had and the tools that I possess, and I use the same tools no matter what kind of art I'm making, and I'm using pretty cheap I got Clip Studio Paint, and the software I'm using to develop the game is called Construct, which is it's kind of expensive as far as game development software goes. It's like a subscription of $99 a year, but at the same time, they promise that they don't take any money from your sales, and the software means that you don't have to learn how to do any coding at all. So it's easy to use and it's comfortable and yeah, seriously.
Word?
I wish I could look.
You giving this man ideas? He's like, hold on.
I'm about to do another screen share.
That's the look of a man that's rethinking things right there, ladies and gentlemen. I'll
just show you a quick snippet of what the game program looks like. It takes a few seconds to launch it.
Like that sounds really cool. Because I wanted to make a couple other games outside of, because I'm doing tabletop now. Because like I'm making a couple tabletop games. I'm making a lot of fighting and combat. Like all right, I'm gonna tell you right now on here, because nobody else. Some people know secretly. I'm literally turning a Call of Duty or Fortnite into a party card game.
Huh. I'm interested to see how you
know. And everybody, no, it sounds crazy, but like when I talk to my testers about this concept, they're like, "You sound like a maniac," and I'm like, "Well, I am." But then I was like, "Try out, let's do a test of it," and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you actually did it!" And I'm like, "Yep." So that's all I'm saying. Is an arena shooter card game coming out.
Well, this is a shot of Construct. You see how like straightforward it is as far as how you program. You say things like if health is 0, then wait 3 seconds and then restart the layout. You know, it's so straightforward and logical. This is just a different prototype that I was working on for fun that I've made in like one night with this software. It's like game development software made for artists. Because I made this character.
She's chocolate, yes.
You made this in a night?
Yeah, well, the character took longer, but the programming took like a day. You know, it's so fast and so easy. I tell everybody who asks, like, this is the software to use if you want to develop a game. It costs a little bit up front, but
it looks worth it, absolutely.
And all this is my art. Like, I drew all this and I just import into the engine. You know, this, and it doesn't cost much. Like, as far as art, like Clip Studio Paint, it's like a one-time purchase. I draw on I have an XP pen display that was like $400. So not a whole big lot of investment. If you know whatever you're using to make art, you got a scanner, not to animate. That's the work. The real cost is time. You know,
dude, this is awesome. Now you got me thinking now, man.
See, wait, how is her hair? Is that like an afro or is it locks?
Let me see. I'm sorry. This thing is kind of glitchy when you change the screen over.
I saw it zoom in. I'm like, I thought I saw some locks. Like,
yes,
you know, you're talking to a cosplayer. If you need a real life version, I can sew something up.
Hey,
I cosplay.
Yeah, you gotta ignore those glitches down the bottom. Oh. There's some reason the graphics got scrambled, but if you look at the character herself, let me just, it's kind of glitched up.
No, you're okay. I saw the glance, and that's why I'm like, hold on, nah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that happened. It's probably because of the streaming.
If you want me to bring something to life, I got you. Just let me know. I'll get my fabric, pull out my sewing machine. I'll get it together for you. Seriously.
No,
I think you make it. I think you could.
I got the locks.
Pull that off.
We there.
I'll make the outfit a little bit more conservative.
You don't have to.
Oh, even better.
There you go.
I'm a content creator. You don't have to. We'll call it that.
You know what? I do have a better image of that character. One that doesn't require it to be displayed like that. Here it is. So I'm going to drag this over and I'm going to do another screen share.
Man, you got me thinking about this program. Like,
I'm excited.
So yeah,
I'm excited for everything.
oh, so it's all the animations,
but
like,
this was like a test. I did when I make a sprite, I do like what's called I do a pose test. This is not nearly all of her moves, but it's like how does she look doing different things, jumping, falling, running, you know, being
Yeah,
dead, all that.
like
But
if you send
it's a lot
me
more
all
animation
the
involved.
pictures of all that, I would love to recreate. Like, we'll bring a 3D version for you. Like,
Oh, I would love that. I've been trying to learn how to
absolutely.
use ZBrush for a long time, but I just can't.
no, she gonna bring it to life, bruh.
No,
She got
seriously, no, I cosplay. Like, when I'm gonna say my social media, you could check it out. He would like, I would love to bring
Okay,
this to life for you. I make props.
yeah, like
okay.
that was the thing that happened with me with VT Heroes, is like seeing like like the Paladins of cosplay, Hellspawn cosplay, of Eric the Smoke Moran, Adia cosplay. Like all these people came together, just said, "Hey, we're gonna cosplay as your VT Heroes." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Word." And they actually made the helmets, like Paladins of cosplay in their studio. They made the actual helmets. People were making the suits and and seeing your characters move like in real life,
Oh yeah, I've
man.
seen a couple of those. I'm like, wow, he
Yeah,
really got
Yo,
you'll
people
be
they,
dressing up.
yo, we have commercials. We have live action commercials. We're working on the live some possible live action like
Hmm.
webisodes and stuff. But bruh, being on set and
Yeah,
seeing your drawings punching each other and then
yeah.
coming over and just like punching you, like I'm
I
like
hope not
this.
literally, but
We're
well,
friends. We're cool like that. But
well, we
like
have
it,
you guys to thank for that because you never know what your artwork or your craft will inspire. It will inspire another person. That's why we have cosplayers today.
hmm.
yeah. I mean, that's the point of cosplay, is like taking your fandoms and bringing it to life in your interpretation. And and
Well, that girl in the green is my next project. I've actually been thinking about focusing on that instead of Jet Dancer because she's a more attractive character. It's just that the project's not as far along, but I would love to see somebody dressed up like her.
Look, send me the layouts, give me the type frame, and I got you. I sew, I make armor. If you were thinking about slapping some armor on her, there isn't something that I can't handle when it comes down to crafting, sewing, anything affiliated with cosplay.
Okay, we're going to definitely have to talk.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
I love
I
when
re-
all this happens, man. I get excited for this. You wanna know why? Because this
Hmm.
is an example of black collaboration and black excellence just happen, just run into boom. And I just love it. Because like when I saw this stuff happen for me, like with my comic characters and stuff, people coming to like conventions and like dressed as my comic characters and surprising me. I'm like, oh, and being on set for like the VT Hero stuff, yo, I felt like I this is what Stanley felt like. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like,
Hmm.
and I love seeing this, and like this just even this platform of Afro Comic Con, like allowing something like this to happen, like just this moment right here with
Yeah.
y'all two collabing already, like that is the point of this. You know what I mean? And I just think I think it's awesome.
Absolutely. For us, by us.
Yeah.
That's
I've
what it's
been
all about.
trying to find more people to connect to because, life keeps me so busy. I barely had time for this. When they told me it was today, I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to pull this off? I had to tell my wife, tell my son, listen, y'all, I'm it's change of plans. I thought it was tomorrow, but it's today. So everybody be quiet. And,
We're glad you were able to make it, seriously. I remember you were talking about earlier, you kind of already had like a certain set of skills. For both of you guys, what kind of skills did you already have when you started working on your individual projects? Like, what's something that you were able to work on and develop along the way, something you learned along the way, or some things that just came naturally for you guys?
well, for me, I've always wanted to make video games ever since I discovered what video games were. But I was a poor little kid, didn't have a computer. So taught myself to draw, settled for comics. And I appreciate comics. I like comics, but I realized I'm not very good at doing them or finishing them. And it was always like a substitute, you know. So as I got older, I was like, and discovering that there were ways that even somebody like me can make video games without having to work at a studio. I was like, I have to learn how to do this. I want to see my own characters on the screen. How do I do it? And I basically taught myself everything. I taught myself how to make sprites in a way that I like, because they have pixel art. It's too tedious for me. 3D is too complicated. So I kind of found this middle ground. And it was just, I just went through tutorials everywhere, just looked for what I wanted. Said, how do you make characters move? And, you know, I taught myself a way of turning my characters into like paper doll type of things. And, you know, you decide what you want, and then you go looking for what you need to make it happen. And don't be stuck. My tip for that is like, do not be stuck with what one person tells you can or can't be done, will or won't work. Experiment every way possible. Don't be afraid to put out something that looks like garbage, because you know, sucking at something is the first step towards being really good at something. So don't be caught up in perfectionism. And now I'm like to the point where I really love making my character sprites, like that girl I showed earlier. That was something that I'm actually really proud of, because 10 years ago I didn't know how to do that. You know, it's just a matter of self-teaching and looking for help everywhere you can find it. So yeah, I'm rambling at this point.
No, you're okay.
No,
You're giving
man,
wonderful advice, and all of that is true. Sidebarring, that's how I was with my face and body painting. Like, I did not want to put out my more less than photos, but I have them up on my Instagram now because I love to see progression. I want to see where I started and where I came from and where I develop into right now. So I agree with you're saying 100%.
Yeah, and I look at it as like a fine line. There's get something out there so that you can not necessarily be the first, but it could be the first, you know, people know it exists. But for the final, like, hurrah, you know, take your time, make it right. You know what I mean? Like, don't rush it. I put this out there. I knew I wanted to redo the art, but like, I mean, the game is finished. You know what I mean? Like, it's playable. People could buy it and all that stuff. So I was like, all right, let me just put this out here, see how it do. It's doing well. And then now I'm like, all right, now it's time for me to bring in the remastered one and do it the way I want to do it, you know? But yeah, like, everything you said was like on point. Like, I ain't gonna front. Like,
Absolutely.
the man is wise. Like I said, I've been watching him work on comics and all that stuff forever. Like, and then I think I don't remember how we actually found each other on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just a friend request from you to me or from me to you, and just since we both happened to be in Philly, it just kind of connected us. I don't even remember how it happened.
Yeah, but I remember seeing, and one thing that always excites me is seeing other creatives of color doing stuff that's kind of like that you're hype about. You know what I mean? Like, I love video games. I used to make games on the computer. This was back in the day before there was color. Showing my age. There was, you know, the Matrix, the green and the black. That's the game I was building.
Ooh,
like,
you brought back the monochrome monitors.
You make yourself sound older than what you probably are. Stop it.
No. Look, I was there when they showed off and it was like, this is the Atari, you know, like, and I was there when they were like, this is Mario. I was like, oh, he's cool looking, you know. But yeah, like, no, this stuff is like, I was making games back then. It was very limited, you know what I mean? Like, it was back in the days of, like, you know, Oregon Trail. I learned how to program in BASIC and like QBasic and like DOS and stuff like that. Seeing the stuff nowadays, I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And then here comes Jonathan jumping in like, bam, here's some spice. And I'm like, bruh, I think I messaged you the first time you put up a video of one of your clips. I was like, how?
Yeah. I kind of wish Andrew was here, because he knows he's the one that introduced me to this software, and he released games with it. And he got games on Steam and on websites, and he's working on a new one that's going to be on Xbox Series X, and he's using the same software that I use. And he's like, he wouldn't use anything else because you don't have to learn any programming languages. All you got to do is be able to make art and just understand a little bit of logic, and you just put it together. The tutorials are all over the site. It's amazing what you can do with this thing. You can have a prototype game released in like a day. Seriously. You don't have to learn the languages. Just go through like their basic tutorials.
Look, I can see the gears turning in Jay Rich head right now. I see the gears turning.
Yeah.
I just, you learn that software, or do find something else that suits you. If you like programming, there's Unity, there's Unreal, there's all that good stuff. But however you do it, it's like it's nothing to be afraid of. You want to make a game, you can go out and make a game. It's I dare say it's easy. It's easy to make. It's not easy to make a good one. We can't all make VT heroes, but you got to start somewhere.
Gotta be original now. Gotta do something the world ain't never seen before.
But you don't know until you try. And
Absolutely.
the opportunities are out there, And I feel like more, particularly Black creators, need to notice that, there's nothing wrong with comics. Comics are great. And, comics ain't going anywhere, but it's other things that you can do.
Absolutely.
And it's a weird thing. Like, some people, this is just a weird opinion that I have. There are artists who are great, but their art is not great for comics. But the acceptability for art in a game, whether it be a card game or a video game, is kind of, I don't want to say lower, but it's like more forgiving. And
I think that's because people have a set standard on especially when you look in the world of like American comics, like Western comics, and then you compare them to the Jim Lees and the Joe Madureiras and like the Travis Charest and like all those and the same thing even with like I make manga and stuff like that, and in that world people are used to your Naruto, your Dragon Ball Z, or you know what I mean, like they expect everyone to do that. And when somebody does something different or create a different style with it, it sometimes catches flack. That happens.
Probably because people are scared of anything that's not considered the norm. People are scared. People are nervous. They don't want to really gravitate towards what's different, even though often what's different is the most intriguing.
Right. Yeah. And I believe everybody, a lot of people, what I would like to see is more of this, because I know only a handful of like Black game developers, and I would like to see more of that. Like I'm really excited. So when I see people like Andrew and Jonathan and a friend of mine, Adrian, who she has a football game. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give her some shot, and I got the game right here.
All right, okay, come through, represent.
She made a football card game called Blitz Champ.
Nice.
And it's actually it's fun, it's educational, it's great. Like
do you have to have some knowledge of football to play it?
No, she does. She plays football. She's played football.
No, I'm asking for like the people, like for a regular consumer. Like, would I be able to pick up this game without?
It's very easy, very straightforward to learn. Like I was, because I bought it just one to support and two to like check it out because I used to make sports games, so I wanted to see how she would do her like football game. It's different from how I did mine, but it's really cool. And
it looks interesting.
I was like, "Oh, right, this is cool. So yeah,
you got me wanting to make card games.
Card games are fun to make too. You gotta know math.
You lost me there. You said you gotta know math.
Yeah, a lot of it is a lot of math. Mine is literally a math equation that I put together to see if you can control probabilities. And that's where I like kind of packaged it in the fighting game aspect. So like you don't realize it, but you're actually controlling probabilities to actually change the equation so that you can, you know, subtract points or numbers from your opponent. Like,
Yep. No, I seen the commercial. I was like, okay, hold on. I kind of got an idea.
oh yeah,
I'm
the
trying
game's
I'm
simple.
trying to be prepared for when I get my cards. Now, I'm trying to be prepared. I'm trying to be ready. I'm trying to be one step ahead.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm all about this and that. Like again, I'm all about Jonathan's work. Because I'm don't mind me, I'm fanboying a little bit because he's a homie, but also like you support your homies, and I've been watching this man, blow up with the glow up and all that stuff. So
I
I'm like,
appreciate
We
that a
love to
lot.
see it. We love to see the brotherly support.
I'm just not very good at this public thing.
You're better than you think. You're doing really well. Seriously. Don't be so
yeah,
hard
you
on
got
yourself.
me.
While talking about the benefits of and how easy something has come, let's also talk about the rougher times when things don't really come so easy. What are some challenges that both of you have faced thus far, including the biggest challenge that you faced thus far with working on your projects?
Okay. Where do I start?
When we talk about the good, we have to talk about the
Yeah,
bad.
I understand. That's actually so easy for me that I have to control it because there are so many problems that I face. I guess the biggest one, this is a warning to anybody that wants to get into any kind of game development. Please plan your stuff. Plan it. Have a loose plan. Have an end goal in mind. That was the mistake I did not. That's the mistake I made. I said I'm going to make a game about this character, so I made this right, and I made her run and jump, and I gave her a bunch of kick animations, and I made up an enemy, and I made up more enemies, and I made stages. But I started going random. Like maybe if I did this, maybe if I did that, maybe she should have more moves, maybe she should have less moves, and it got to the point where it was just a stream of consciousness where I'm just every part of it is an experiment and nothing is planned. And that's the large reason why I struggle. Like you gotta have a plan, a goal in mind, a mission, instead of just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Because at least if you got a plan and when something goes wrong, you say, okay, is this according to plan? Is it worth keeping? Do I need to take this out? A story, a outline. You got to have some kind of framework for what you're trying to build instead of just a cool idea. It starts there, but that's, can't end there. That's a big mistake I made. It's made my project take way longer than it should have. So I think that's the biggest challenge for me. Making a plan and sticking with it, at least having something as a framework. You can adjust the plan, you can alter it, extend it, shrink it, but have a plan.
Got you.
Let's see. The hardest difficult. Like I'm big on planning. I do when I'm building the game, I do an alpha testing. First, I come up with the concept, and I'm like, I try to see like jot down like little ideas. I'll draw in my little crazy man language, like you see in movies where somebody gets hit with like some beam, and all of a sudden they just writing this alien script on the wall. Like I'll just go crazy like that and start writing all this stuff. But then I try to put it to use, and then like this is what I call the alpha stages. Like this is the shooter game I was talking about. So I did the same thing with VT Heroes. It was literally on like scraps of paper.
Wow.
Like, and then I would like play test it with some people and write and erase. Like if there were like, all right, maybe we should lower the damage to this or raise it to this or change this rule. The hardest thing is doing like the time it eats up because you have so many obligations. I have a 1-year-old, and every day, I have him. I'm raising my son. Like, and
Being a producer and being a parent.
right, and then I can't say no to people, so I end up working on a million other projects, and like from video production to other comics to working on even other games for other people. time. I wish I had time or a clone me where I can just be like, all right, well, I'm doing this. You can draw that.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to get more done.
Doing it by yourself is hard.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's the hardest part. Having no
Time, one of
assistant.
the few things that you cannot get back.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar boat. I don't have a 1 year old, but I got a 64-year-old father who's blind. So all his care, all his needs fall on me. And it's like when I'm having a good day, programming, making something work, making sure that an asset looks good and it feels good and the gameplay's tight. That's when he calls and he's alone. And it's like, okay, do I talk to him? Do I keep working? And this is like a constant balance. So having work-life balance is very important. I think the best thing to do is to set aside time, anticipate what's going to happen. Like you got your 1-year-old son, he's going to need you from time to time. He's going to need you a lot.
Yeah.
So eventually he'll be 3 years old, and then when he goes to bed, and that's when you can do your best work.
I mean, that's what I'm doing now. It's like, my wife takes over. We both work from home, but during the day, her company, the company she works for, she has to make sure everybody's doing their job during the day. So
Right.
hers is 9 to 5 type hours.
Huh.
My company, I own my company, so I can mold it to whatever time it needs to be.
Yeah.
But around 6 o'clock, I'm like, yeet. I just throw the baby at her, like, eat, there you go, I gotta go, But
Right.
yeah, time is the oof. That's the scariest thing right there.
Absolutely. And with working on your projects, did you receive any type of external help? And if so, how did you guys find, collaborators? How did you find people to work with? And what criteria did you guys personally follow to know that this person was the right fit? Like, okay, this person will be a good fit for VT Heroes and its development, for example.
With the game itself, the core game and the art and all that stuff, the packaging for the box, all that stuff, that was mainly me. That was me. Yeah, it still is. It's just me. Outside things things we added to the Kickstarter. I'm doing third party collaborations with people who are Inkster prints. They print. I drew the shirt, but they print it for me. And then there's a company, Black Sian Apparel, that does anime jerseys and stuff like that. I gave them we made a contract where they can do VT Hero jerseys that look kind of like the uniforms of the VT Heroes. So it's a lot of third party development of product that helps promote the game. I've an awesome bunch of people from the Real Fire who composed a very Power Rangery rock song for the main title, and then I had other people come along an industrial band, Lust for Nothing. They did a bunch of industrial music for it. I have just a bunch of people to help out to add to the brand. Even the Paladins of cosplay and all the other cosplayers that I'm working with, being the live action version. So when I go to conventions, you can actually get pictures with the VT Heroes and stuff like that. And and even to help with some of the Power Rangers. The actual Power Rangers.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing those pictures. You had the Green Ranger with you, one of those things, right?
Having these Rangers promoting my game and giving me we're doing photo ops where they're facing off against my VT Heroes and stuff, and I'm that stuff adds to the spectacle and the hype of your brand and of your game, which helps with sales. And it helped with the Kickstarter because a lot of the different stuff, all those things that I mentioned, even some of the anime artists that I know overseas, that actually are friends of mine from the days of DeviantArt did art for some of the character for like some of the playmats, and that was a thing.
How did you vet your people though? Like, because someone having the wrong people can screw you up. So how did you vet your people though, on who you wanted on your team? And what tips would you give to other people when it comes down to vetting people? Because like I said earlier, no one's gonna love and take care of your project as much as you, but
Yeah.
someone can come fairly close. So how do you find those people? How do you
Uh,
know kind of who's all in when you're first getting started?
being 100 with people from the gate, I'm very like direct and a bit in your face. So I'm like, look, man, I'm broke, but we can do this thing together, and I have these avenues of which either I can pay you, or I can only afford about this much, or because I own, conventions, that allows people to make side money, like excess money or whatever, or you can always find a way to make a deal with somebody.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's not financial. Sometimes it's like, hey, if we put this together and like the soundtrack. I gave everybody money, but I also want to do like for some people it'd be like, hey, if this album sells for every like 10 copies it sells, you get this amount of money.
Hmm.
There's always ways to do it, but just be direct and upfront. Like, don't act like we gonna get rich. Like, hey, I got this idea. This is what I have, and have enough to show.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people, there's a few that say, hey, do it for exposure. But what do you have to offer? Like, do you actually have exposure?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Does your exposure, could that lead to money? Like if it's just exposure just for exposure, but if
Hmm.
it can lead to some type of money, or pay them up front, give them a flat rate. I pay the artists like, straight up. Like we were going to do like the partial thing, like based on sales. I was like, you know what? What's your flat rate if I had to just pay you at once so that we could just shake that hand and be done with it?
Hmm.
He gave me the rate. I was like, you know what? I got a little extra money. Boom. That's it. You know what I mean? Like for certain artists, like it just works out that way. And you really don't know, honestly. Like you could be as 100 with somebody, and they may flake out.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
It's still a risk no matter how you do it. But I'm afraid of that risk for the most part, so I do as much as I can by myself.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you're honest about it. What about you, Jonathan? What
Yeah.
tips?
Honestly,
Tips?
I'm the same. I'm not there yet. I don't have my product finished and released. So I do everything alone, like literally everything. And I ask for help. I look for when I have an obstacle that I can't get past, and I am intending to find a way to get a musician of some sort so I can have a decent soundtrack for my game, because I don't have any musical skill at all. But
Word.
aside from that, it's really just all me, and I don't even. This is actually a weakness for me. Like I don't know how to collaborate. I don't. I
Your
used to
friend
live.
rubbing his chin. He like, we gonna talk after
You
after.
know, J1 Studios also has music production.
Oh, really? Hmm.
I mean, I own music festivals.
Oh,
We
see.
we could talk.
Okay. Yeah, because music. Not only do I not have any musical talent, but I don't even know like if I'm playing my own game, and I don't know what kind of music suits it. So I just got a bunch of test tracks that I found for free online, and I threw them on there just so it wouldn't be silence. But it's I don't know. Some people say they like it, some people don't. I don't know. I don't have an ear for music, so that's probably like the main thing I will need a collaborator for. Besides, also, when it's time to do actual promotion. But that's the kind of thing I'm waiting on. Like once the game is done, then I can talk about that, or at least to a point where it's like 90% done, and I'm just in a polished state, and I have something I feel comfortable showing to the world, because I'm not there yet. But yeah, collaboration has always been my greatest weakness, and I've been told that by almost everyone I've ever met. So
Understandably so. Well, I do have one last question for you guys, and that's just how do you guys stay updated and aware of like the new trends and everything when it comes down to keeping your games relevant? Like for yourself, Jonathan, I know you're focusing on an old school style. How do you manage that compared to all the new style gaming that's out?
to be
Same
honest,
for you, Jay Rich.
I don't. And what I mean is I think there's too much emphasis on trying to be modern and relevant when we don't. There was a statement made by some Japanese game developer. I think it was either Iwata or Miyamoto who said you can't ask people what surprises them. So I take that to mean you can try to stay relevant, and at best you'll be a clone, or at worst you'll be like you'll come off as trying too hard. So I feel like you make something and you just see how people respond, and you adjust. You do your best to not be way off base, but you'll know pretty quickly if you are. It's been my experience. You make something that people don't respond to, you find out pretty quickly whether it's modern or old school or relevant or not. I just say long, TLDR, trust your own gut. You know, I don't really honestly watch a lot of television these days or listen to a lot of music. I'm usually just in the lab and or playing video games. And my main entertainment is video games, So I couldn't tell you what's relevant. I just tell you what I like. And I feel like if I like it, there's probably other people that like it too. So I just
Makes
trust my own
sense.
gut.
Makes sense.
And never mind. Yeah.
Oh, you're good.
No. There was question there
I think
in chat.
I don't look at trends. I mean, my game is also based on like pieces of nostalgia. Like people like fighting games like Street Fighter and all that stuff. People like the genre of Sentai or Tokusatsu, which is Power Rangers. And people like card games because I mean, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. Like people like those games. I just took all those things and put them together, and just said, "Yeah, why not? Let's go for it." And like I just wanted to add a few like changes and stuff like that, like my pink, my not my ranger, but my pink hero
Yeah.
is a buff dude. Like and like I added like my red one is like a thick girl. You know what I mean? Like, and my gray one's like got a big guy with a belly. Like.
Yeah.
And people like that stuff. Like. I don't know. I just tried to change things up. Like, yeah, I don't
Absolutely.
follow a trend necessarily. I know the business trend. Like, hey, in the past like 10 years, tabletop gaming has like boomed, especially in like the crowdfunding scene. Like that's a big trend. It 3 times as much as like digital games, and I was like, what? Like, oh, people have gone back to our eras of stuff. So Jonathan's thing's gonna blow up because people like 2D again. People like
Absolutely.
card games again. Like, hey,
Yeah, maybe a card game will be my next project because you got me all inspired.
And that's the thing I was going to actually touch on next with hearing how passionate you guys are about your crafts and your projects and your dedication. What keeps you motivated? What inspires you guys to do what you do and keep you motivated to moving
This is
forward?
the weirdest thing, but what inspires me is boredom. When I'm bored,
Look,
I want to entertain myself.
it's not as weird as you think when you are
So
explaining it like
I come up with
this.
something that entertains me. And since games are my favorite medium, it's usually some sort of game. Like even when I was a kid and I didn't have a computer, so I would take a little notebook and I would like take Nintendo Power Magazine and look at the maps of games in the book, and I would copy them and then come up with my own levels. And when I was I'm talking like 6, 7 years old, I used to get my friends to come outside and we would act out a game. We would go outside and we would pretend we're jumping on platforms and we're stomping on monsters and exploring dungeons. And so, and that was because, I found myself bored a lot. I just was not entertained by what was going on around me. I said, I got to create my entertainment. And I was an arrogant kid and believed that I could make better stuff than what I saw on TV. So I thought I would try it. I was like, okay, He-Man is funny, but I can make a better version of that. And that's debatable, but but I'm that's what drives me. It's like I want to make something that entertains me, and like I said before, if it entertains me, it'll probably entertain somebody else, and that's what kept me going like all my life. At first, my only audience was my close friends, and they always wanted to come out, and we didn't want to play tag or hide and seek, whatever. They said, let's play John's game, and that's what inspired me. Just entertaining people, entertaining myself, and being original is not the right word, probably more like
Innovative.
innovative.
And there we go.
Yeah, making something out of your own head and entertaining people with it. That inspires me.
What about you, J. Rich?
Um, Honestly, Nintendo. When I was younger and the NES came out, I fell in love with Mario and Zelda and the map that came with the game and all that stuff. Like you would get in the copies, and I saw Nintendo Power. And the first issue of Nintendo Power had like you open it up and it had like a whole map show you how
Mhm.
like the game was laid out, like how Mario was laid out and how Legend of Zelda was, and like other games were laid out. And I used that as just like he did. Like I used that as my formula on how to map out a game I would make. And then I started just making these games. Sometimes I made them as tabletop games. Then eventually I got this book on how to make games through Basic, but it was like if you just wrote what they said. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
were like, here's how you make a dice game. And I would like copy it into DOS and you press run and just you would get a dice game. I was like, what if I took the elements from this dice game and put it to this like karate game they just this
Mhm.
program that's on the next page, and then added a little bit of this music thing they show you how to make music on there. Could I make my own game? And then like I learned how to like how they would do that ASCII art
Yeah.
using like the lines and all that stuff
Yeah,
from
the
like
characters.
make like memes and stuff like before, you know what I mean, like the little
Yeah.
art with the shapes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I learned that's how I could make graphics.
Hmm.
And then like I would just like make graphics and then like have them like literally flip through images per half second and it looked like it was moving. So
Gotcha.
like and I wanted to do all these things. Like that was my we have the same similar story. Like
Yeah.
we played games and I wanted to be Nintendo.
Makes
Yeah.
Like that
sense.
was
Makes sense.
Basically, yeah.
yeah.
Well, as we reach our close, gentlemen, I do want to thank you guys for coming out and being on the panel. And I wanted to remind our audience that Afro Comic Con is a nonprofit, which depends on donations. So you guys can donate by clicking the donate button on the event platform. But before we close out, please let everyone know where they can find you guys and your amazing work that you do.
Well, I'm on DeviantArt. My username there is Dual Mask, DualMask. Everywhere else, well, no, I'm sorry. Instagram, Jonathan Price Art is just my name with the word art on it. And my website is jonathanpriceart.net.
Okay.
I guess VT Heroes is only on Instagram. So like, go on
You gotta
Instagram.
get it Twitter. You gotta get it Twitter.
I hate Twitter. Twitter can die. I'm
I
not
have
going
a
on
Twitter,
Twitter.
but I don't want to share it.
Like I'll go on Instagram, go to VT Heroes. You could also look at stuff on j1studios.com. That's my company's overall site. You could also, when the time comes, because it's coming out in 2022, go to j1con.com for our animation and gaming expo that we own.
Might
I'll
have
pay
to
that
slide
another
through.
visit.
Where is it gonna be at? You got to tell us where.
I'm working on that being in November 2022 in Atlantic City at the
Hey, you guys
Showboat
hear that?
Hotel.
Okay,
Time to
2022.
save up for it.
And you guys can find me, your little cosplay face painter, Funko Fanatic, at Hey R2A on all platforms except on Twitch. That is Hey R2A2. Also,
Oh,
guys, I want you guys to keep in mind, though we are virtual this year, Afro Comic Con in 2022 will be live in person. So you will get to meet all of us face to face, take a selfie, be interactive, get your face to face advice.
Oh, hope I can resist that heart attack. Whew.
You got this. And we look forward to seeing you guys next year.
All right. Thank you for having me.
No
yeah, this is
problem. Thank
awesome.
you for being here. We appreciate you guys so much.